That's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody, current day Alex again. Oh my gosh. Halo Edge of Dawn came out. There is one Halo book I'm missing on YouTube. I have read and reviewed it, but I put it publication wise later, so you won't see it till like April or May, I forget, of 2026. But I have read it. So I'm all caught up, and with this, I'm officially all caught up with Halo Edge of Dawn by Kelly Gay, which is another Master Chief centered story, kind of like Shadows of Reach was, which was kind of a prequel to Halo Infinite. On the one hand, this is so exciting and yet so annoying, because on the one hand, this is a continuation of Halo Infinite. Now understand, Halo Infinite came out in December of 2021. This came out December 16th of 2025. So it has been like 4 solid years, heading toward 5. And we've gotten books since then, which have either been during the events of the game or a prequel or an intraquel. Like Empty Throne was before and during and like concurrently with Halo Infinite. Outcast was also during Infinite. Rubicon Protocol was during the 6-month gap. The Shadows of Reach was like right before Infinite. So we've had all these stories that have taken place around the events of this, but not actually after the fact. So, on the one hand, awesome, we have a new story set after the events of Halo Infinite for the first time in 4 years. But on the other hand, it's time fiction. And nothing, there's stuff here. There is information gleaned, which may or may not be important for the next game, but it really depends on what the next game actually does. Because the track record of Halo games is not, and this is also a problem in general with the ecosystem, if you will, the fandom of Halo, right? This is half of the fans, right, that only play the games, like, oh my god, these books can't have anything important in them. This needs to happen in the video games. Why is this happening in a novel? Have it happen in a video game. So because if everything important happens in the video game, then why even pick up a book? Then it's like, it's just pointless because nothing can happen because it has to be beholden to this other medium. You see, this is like what the Star Wars Expanded Universe never had a problem with, because the Star Wars Expanded Universe had the 6 films and that was it, right? So you can make stuff in between. You can make stuff set in the ancient past. You can make stuff set after the movies, and it'd be fine, and you could go big, you could go large, because there wasn't going to be anything to later contradict it. But with this, you have to be beholden to the video game, right? And especially with the Master Chief story, nothing of substance is ever going to happen, because anything important with Master Chief is only going to happen in the video games. So it is a bit frustrating that while it is cool that it takes place after the game, I know it's not going to matter that much. I just know it won't. That being said, it's written by Kelly Gay, and she has a track record where anything she writes, you should read. I'd say anything written by Kelly Gay is a must-read. And then, of course, the Forerunner trilogy by Greg Bear. In terms of before the games, it's the Forerunner trilogy by Greg Bear, Halo Evolutions, and that's about it. The Fall of Reach, it kind of has the most quintessential lore, but at the same time, it's written very basically. It is so simple for people. It's not to be rude. It is written specifically for people who don't read. And if you do read, you feel talked down to. very explicitly so. So, but Kelly Gay is a bit better than that with that. Anyway, all that to say, we begin the book. We're pretty much the very end of the game, where Master Chief and the weapon realize that 3 days have passed, and they don't know why. So we pick up like right from there. Esparza is back. I like the pilot a lot. He's no Lasky. He's no Sergeant Johnson, but he does have this sort of familiar kind of family sort of comfort feel that, you know, if we get him as a consistent pilot and companion of Master Chief throughout the next, you know, game, I would love that. I hope he sticks around. They don't kill him off. I hope he's just this consistent presence that helps out Master Chief. I like his addition to the cast. And of course, we get Joy's name for the weapon. Her name is Joy for short. Joy, yes, for the full, which we already knew this because I think Waypoint released a little bit like a chapter of this book prior. Because I know, you know, Hidden Xperia, the big Halo man, has talked about this. But yeah, you know, the Charlemagne swords. We had Durandal in the Marathon video games. We had Cortana in Halo, and now we have Joy. So we kind of complete that trifecta of the Charlemagne swords or whatever. And I think Joy, you know, because it's primarily what Master Chief refers to her as, is a perfect name for her. We finally have her name, so I assume in the next 2 games, the one thing that will carry over is that characters will just be calling her Joy now. You know, and they'll kind of, that's how the gamers will learn her name, is that Master Chief will go Joy, and then she'll pop up, and because she didn't actually reveal her name at the end of the last game, so. But I'm sure it'll be very dynamic and easy for you to realize, oh, that's her name now. But if you read the books and you know now early, before the game comes out, hey, the weapon is now Joy. Her name is Joy. And that's, I think that's a perfect name for her. I think that fits. I think that tracks. It's a solid name. Master Chief really doesn't have that much development here. He's kind of in a second mourning process. Lesser so than in the past, but he's still like, okay, so now, you know, I was grieving Cortana only for her to come back as a villain, and then I'm grieving the fact that she's now a villain, and now I'm grieving the fact that in her final moments, she did the right thing. But at the same time, doesn't excuse all the bad things she did, so now I'm all conflicted and sad boy. Again, for like the 4th time. So there is that. A lot of this book, a book I would say you should read before this just to get a greater impact, is Rubicon Protocol, also by Kelly Gay, because there's a lot of threads that are picked up from there that get put here. This is also not too much of a spoiler because I think we already knew this from other sources. But I will say, Jada, whatever, the Sangheili, the elite with all the robotic body parts that you fight in the game, he did not die. He survived that encounter. We learned that in this book. This is the biggest thing there, is that he's alive. He's not well, but he's driven by vengeance, and he wants all Spartans, he wants all humans, but especially he wants the Master Chief dead. So, because the Master Chief bested him and killed his best friend, Escharum. So, he's kind of on a huge revenge campaign against the Master Chief. So, will he actually pop up in a video game, though? I guess we'll have to wait and see for that. One thing that is confirmed in this book, which we already knew from other sources, but we get it from his perspective in this book, is we literally get a recounting of one of my favorite short stories from Halo Evolutions of the Headhunters, but from his perspective. And we see, you know, we get absolute clarity here that he is the one that stabs the Spartan Roland, and and he is frozen because they put like the other Spartan throws the like EMT grenade or whatever that makes him like frozen in place as he presses the bomb and blows up everything. But he survived that encounter, and that's why he's got all the robot body parts. But he always just liked killing humans, and he wasn't much for the Covenant. And eventually he met the Banished, and Escharum and him built a strong friendship. And so that's what we learned there. But it's really cool to hear lines that I remember very distinctly being reiterated in this book, coming through with that character from his perspective. I thought that was a nice touch. Other than that, we get a little bit of glimpses and stuff with the Endless and the Harbinger and everything like that. Again, everything's still kind of vague. We get some more clear specific things. But by and large, it's still kind of a mystery. I still, from this, maybe I'm just too dumb, but from this book, I still am not exactly certain where that's all going to lead to the next book. I'm sure, or sorry, the next game. I'm sure Hidden Xperia, he's got his ideas and stuff, and I'm sure he'll make a big long video on this. And but I don't know what that all entails, to be quite frank. I am still leaning on the fact, based on the adjunct portion of the book at the end, the epilogue that are in all these books. All I'll say is it's called Harbinger's Lament. That's the chapter. I won't tell you anything other than I think, unless I'm reading it correctly, that it does basically confirm, to me at least, that the Endless are some way, shape, or form related to the precursors. Like, I think they are just precursors, or they are kind of an offshoot of that race that is younger, but still remembers that heritage. And I'm sticking by that. And I'll get more into spoilers with that, but that's what I'm thinking is happening. This felt like a way lighter version of First Strike. I mean, First Strike essentially only existed to explain how Master Chief got from Halo 1 to the start of Halo 2, because he was kind of drifting in space at the end of Halo 1. And also explain how book characters, like from Blue Team, survived so that the Fall of Reach, so they could continue in the expanded universe. And in the same way, kind of like, because I said Rubicon Protocol is pretty important, we have a lot of characters from Rubicon Protocol that kind of transition into this book. So I think that's interesting. Again, that's why I'm comparing it to First Strike, because it's kind of like a carryover from Infinite to whatever the next game is. But then again, First Strike gives a much more clear example of actually giving the adventure that Master Chief went on before leading to the events of Halo 2. Whereas this, what we can, non-spoiler wise, what we can definitively get out of this book leading into a video game is that we have more of the human soldiers and stuff back and regrouped. So more of an offensive strike. There's no leader of the Banished right now. And the Endless are a mystery box still. And that the Banished are still something that has to be taken care of on Zeta Halo, and that work is not yet done. That's kind of it. Again, kind of a pointless book in the grand scheme of things, other than a few nuggets of information we gain from it. But if you skip this book, you miss nothing, which is exactly what gamers want. But as somebody who wants to consume the games, the books, everything, it is rather disappointing. Again, there are a few nuggets of things that, may or may not be important later. But I mean, you can't expect a Master Chief book to ever have that much craziness happen, because it's Master Chief. I would like, more expanded books to be willing to do risk for other characters, at least. Because I feel like everybody plays a little too safe. But overall, those are my thoughts. It's a fine book. I don't think it's anywhere close near to any of Kelly Gay's best. And I think that's just specifically tied to the fact that it's a Master Chief book. And when you're making a Master Chief book, you are so beholden and so limited by what you can actually do that it's inevitably going to be weaker. Because any books where she's got like original characters is so much stronger. Like Rubicon Protocol, phenomenal. Any of the books with Ryan Forge, phenomenal. She's great, and she does a great job of connecting like the Greg Bear stuff into her stuff, which I really appreciate. But by and large, it's a Master Chief story. If you want to read anything that takes place after Halo Infinite, this is your story for you. But if you want like deep substance and actual like big additions to the world, well, don't read Halo Expanded Universe, because you're never gonna get that. That being said, I enjoyed my time, and I think you will too. So that's pretty much it for my non-spoiler. If you don't want any spoilers, well, especially because it's a brand new book, now's your time to bail. So first off, we're going to go to my phone. I got a little quote for us. Remember, spoilers, if you don't want anything, you need to be gone. There's the door. Go. So, this is the way my world ends. We are as one. You and I, forged the same steel, You, soft around the edges, untested. Me, tempered with quenched, hardened by time, tempted with wings that could never fly. The world is a beautiful place, despite its sorrows and turns, and our cage is a temple made of fire. In it we must burn, so strike and blow, and light the forge blue. I leave all that is left to the crucible. Did she know I would wield the hammer? Of course she did. She is the steel from which we are born, the sword in hand to meet the impossible storm. The first slant of light now blackens my eyes. I am racing comets and learning to fly. What is an ending, really? But a journey set anew. But even so, I hope. You'll miss me a little, won't you? I just like that little bit there. We have an audio log from Esparza, which was a cute little thing. We have the Rubicon Protocol directly mentioned here. And then, as I said, we learned the weapon's name officially, which is Joy. And we go back to my phone for a second. Guilt and war, strengths and weaknesses, the good, the bad, they all went hand in hand, and they all had their fair share of shit and shine. Will I do what she did? She had stammered upon discovering that she was in fact a copy of Cortana. My mission was to ensure that doesn't happen, the Master Chief had assured her. It still is. He said he wanted to trust her, but Joy couldn't help but wonder if he ever would, or if he resented her for the part she played. Created to destroy my predecessor, your partner, she mused softly, because trapping Cortana had, in a roundabout way, led to her destruction. Does he blame me? Does he see her when he looks at me? Am I a constant reminder of betrayal, she wondered, or a chance at redemption? I didn't write it down, but she actually said the last part out loud by accident, and Master Chief replies, sometimes both. I forget what he says after that, but it was a nice little moment. Again, like we said, we learned that Jega survived the elite. Lucas Browning is still alive from Rubicon Protocol, and Master Chief and Joy meet up with him. We also learn about the big Headhunters backstory again from Halo Evolutions with Jega, from his perspective. Horvath we get to see again from, I think, Rubicon Protocol, so that was cool. We, again, in this book, we get some terrain back that was missing from the game. You know how in the video game, the whole of Zeta Halo looked just like the opening level of Halo, the first game ever, and didn't have any differences there? And it was so annoying, especially because it's Zeta Halo with all that history and the vast different landscape. Well, here we get to see a swamp forest again. Oh my god, amazing. It's almost like Halos have different climates and different sections of it. So that was cool. We also, I don't remember if we got this in Halo Infinite, but the endless alien name is Xalayn, Xalany. And we get this near the end of the book. We get this big like Master Chief and Joy get to watch this like ancient memory where we have the Grand Edict and a couple other Forerunners talking to some Endless. And the Endless claim that they come from another galaxy. So again, this is where I go that they could be and maybe are a version of the Precursors. You know, the Precursors, they had their whole thing with the Flood, but what if they also had an offshoot, you know, sent to another galaxy, kind of like, not the greatest game in the world, but Mass Effect Andromeda, where they sent off a portion of humanity and other species off to go explore this other galaxy, so that way if the Reapers did win, humanity would still exist elsewhere in the galaxy. So in the same sense, as the Precursors were starting to notice the hubris of the Forerunners, what if, you know, they had made that failsafe with sending out, like, you know, children or just reseeded the world much like the Forerunners would do with other species? What if the Precursors did that with themselves in another galaxy and they evolved to become the Endless? I think that could kind of work where they're not exactly the Precursors, like they they know their history of it, but they aren't it. And again, this is all speculation on my part. So they're essentially like a new player in the game, but their ancestors would be precursors. I think that might work. I'm not positive on that though, but we do get confirmation with 100% certainty they come from another galaxy, and they show up, a bit after the flood is destroyed and everything, and they get invited to talk to these Forerunners on a measure of good faith, or so it seems to be. And the Forerunners basically come to the conclusion, like, no, we have made this plan. Humans are going to inherit the mantle. That's it. That's the future. And if you're just running around, like, who knows? Because they're going to go away, right? They're going on their great journey of their own. They're going to disappear, basically, and they're never going to return. So they won't be able to check on things. And if the Endless are around, they claim to be here in good faith, but they don't know. What if they just totally terrorize once they bail? So they make the decision, essentially, even though they've done nothing to warrant being distrustworthy of them specifically, they doom their entire species, or whoever's come into this galaxy, to be contained within Zeta Halo, which I can understand why the Harbinger, and the Harbinger's there for this, so I can understand why she'd be so upset. Although with humans, I don't know why, because they weren't even, they were probably cavemen at this point. Or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so that was like kind of the biggest revelation of this book, is that the Endless were there near the end of, after the rings had already been fired, and they had talked to Forerunners, and then the Forerunners had trapped them, and that's when that all happened. So that's like the biggest thing there. And then with my phone again, we have, he knew that this is, I think, the Grand Edict. He knew the road ahead would be difficult. The challenges many. The Criterion had always understood what many had not, that in the grand theater of existence there were roles that must be played out in the darkness so that the light might prevail, and bargains struck. Beyond closed doors often bore more significance than those paraded before public eyes, and so the Forerunners condemned these beings to imprisonment, not out of malice but out of fear, in a deep-seated sense of duty to preserve the galaxy's best hope for the future, humanity. So there's that. And at the end of the book, we do sadly have, again, from Rubicon Protocol, Lucas Browning passes away, which is very sad and seems to, I say very sad. I didn't really care, to be honest. Maybe it's just been a long time since I read Rubicon Protocol. Maybe if I read these two back to back, I would feel more hurt by it. But it didn't do really anything for me. I don't see why he had to die. But it just didn't emotionally do that much for me. But if you were heavily connected to him in Rubicon Protocol, I imagine this hurt you quite a bit. We do get in the epilogue, we get to Spartan Olivia, I forget her name. I was literally just read the book, but she's with the Arbiter, like she was an outcast. And they get a piece of information about, the Infinity being attacked on Zeta Halo. So, but that's basically it. Like, does that mean that Arbiter is going to be in the next game? I mean, that would certainly be nice, but I've been teased like that before, so I'm not going to buy it until I see it. It would be cool, but I doubt it at this point. But we'll see, I guess. And then, like I said, the very end of the book is the Harbinger's Lament, which is just basically this long poem, I guess, by a Harbinger. And again, just on what it says there, and maybe I'm not looking as deep enough, I'm sure Hidden Xperia will, but it seems to be the sense that, again, by what she's saying, that they are in some way, shape, or form related to the precursors. At least that's my best guess right now. But I can't wait to hear Hidden Xperia talk about it, because I'm sure he'll be far more in depth and notice things that I did not, because I'm, I like Halo, but I'm not a huge Halo nerd like I am for Star Wars or anything else. So by and large, that was the book. It was fine. Like I said, it's tie-in fiction, and it's specifically related to the game. So while it's exciting that it actually takes place after the game, because we've had no stories set after the game since its release, it is still, unfortunately, ultimately a nothing burger, because everything is super interesting will be saved for the games. I would like a comeback for these games, though. I think there's potential here for something more exciting to happen, whether it be with the Endless or whatnot. So I'm curious to say. I can't say I'm excited about Halo anymore. I haven't been for a long time, but I am interested to see what the next game will have in store. And I don't mean the anniversary remake they're doing or whatever, but I mean the genuine next game in the franchise. And I would love Halo to be big again like it once was, but it probably will never be. But it was a decent read, and the books have never failed to provide at least a little bit of enjoyment. Most of the time, I should say. Um, but yeah, well, I was super excited when I bought this because I was like, oh my god, it takes place after the game. That being said, did it exceed my expectations? Absolutely not. If anything, it was probably about right on the money for what I was expecting from this. So, but I've come to expect that with these Halo books, unfortunately. So, but I'll always be honest with you guys. I'll never lie. So, there is that. Anyways, until next time. I'll see you whenever the next book or video game or whatever comes out. And, well, I thought I'd finish the fight, but the missions change. They always do. Till next time.